Hi, everyone. Welcome back to session 3 of our Agentic Work Transformation Series, the workshop. In our first 2 sessions, we explored the high-level art of the possible and built our foundation. Today, we'll transition from theory into practice. We're going to drive this straight into the builder interface, walk through a live prototype build and map out our testing and reinforcement route. Finally, we'll look at how to deploy that agent directly into Google Workspace and Google Enterprise, showing you tools that your teams will be using every day. Let's get started. So the next slide is about the illusion of viral demos. I think before we kind of need to address kind of the illusion of viral demos, we need to talk about the fact that you see dozens of slick videos showing fully functional AI agents that are built with just 10 lines of code. It looks deceptively simple because those demos only show you the tip of the iceberg. They show you like the front end UI and a basic API request. But when you try to bring that prototype into a security review, a CTO or an enterprise compliance team, you'll hit a brick wall. Real world production environments are massively complex. You can look at this slide, and I'm trying to show you that there are like 13 levels of the OSI model. Those demos usually only show you 2. And I guess the good part about it is there are 11 other levels that are part of the fully functional environment that come along with it. And so with that, this particular slide, it reinforces 2 lanes. There's like a 2-lane approach in an enterprise environment. There's the pro lane and and what I call the load and no code lane. And on the right is all those layers, including security, chat logging, all of the features that are built in to kind of make this application enterprise ready, so that you can do thousands of submits within an environment and nothing goes wrong. It's really jaw dropping how often people don't understand quite exactly what's going on when they show you those demos, and the belief is that they're actually showing you an agentic demo. The facts are about 80% of the demos that you see where people say they're agentic are actually just a little less than that. They're a little less than that. They're more like this slide here. They are, this is a good example of kind of what the real world is like. The real world has has 3 different choices. There's an API, a basic call to like a direct database. And then there's what is known as the application assistant, the chatbot. And then there's also what you might consider to be the AI agent, the agentic AI that we're going to talk about today. I guess the best way to explain these is that they're autonomous, they are goal oriented, they are planning, or they're all about planning, executing, making decisions. They represent one of the most important things about what generative AI brings in the form of what we call Jeep, which is Gemini's application for this. So when we're talking about an agent, what we're talking about really are 3 things: the model that's used to make up that agent, the tools that go into it, as well as the orchestration. When we architect these tools, we bind these to accounts. That means that the agent actually inherits your existing trust, meaning that think of it like a badge. When you badge in through into your building, that allows you in. That doesn't allow anybody who might be near you in. If someone borrows your badge, it would let them in because it would assume it was you. But in a real world scenario, no one's going to borrow your badge. So when you present or log in to this particular environment, think of it the same way you would think of giving a badge to a brilliant intern. If you hired somebody that's really brilliant and you brought them into your environment and you didn't give them a badge, no matter how brilliant they are, they couldn't do their work. They wouldn't have access to the tools that they need in order to do the work that you hired them to do. So what our goal here is to give them those tools, give them access to the APIs, give them access to the databases, give them access to the functions that they need in order to do their job.
Brian, I think this is a really good analogy you use with the intern application there. The best part of that setup being, like you said, the intern doesn't get the master key, right? They don't get the key to the building. They don't get the key to your whole technology stack. They're only going to be able to access, what you give them access to. And also, your differences talking about, going from a simple API call all the way up to an agent as well. I think it's a great way to think about those as the first one being just like the simple API call. You have to take initiative on that, right? You have to wait, or that API has to wait for you to tell it what to do. Whereas when we get to agentic workflows, you already give it a destination and it maps out its own routes. And then it'll just handle the rest for you. And that's where it goes from, like I said, just taking you having to tell it what to do from it being able to do all the work for you going forward. And that's kind of what an intern does too, right? They do some of the work as well if you give it the tools.
Right, right. And as well, this next slide kind of delves into it a little bit more. I think I used an acronym earlier and I didn't really define the acronym. Gemini has Gemini Enterprise. The platform is affectionately known as Jeep. And so when I'm describing it, and if you've never heard that acronym, that's what I'm referring to. And it's designed so that there are really two lanes. There's the pro, the pro lane, the custom agents built by, data scientists and IT people. And then there's the empower lane, which is, you've seen it. It looks like a browser in almost any environment you're familiar with. It looks similar to everything you've ever used. Non-technical users, analysts, HR people, that's what this is designed for. And from a use case perspective, it's really, really, really easy for you to use. So that's what we'll be focusing on today. But we want to show you both lanes. We want to show you what it looks like from a non-technical perspective, and then we want to show you what it could look like if you went the extra mile and built something out. So that first path that we're talking about, the no-code agent designer path, this is a little bit about what it actually looks like. So what you see in front of you is like the agent designer. It has the ability to kind of help you, guide you as you build out your strategy. The idea behind it is that you can, build your application just using a prompt. I mean, just basically typing in what you think you are interested in doing. In fact, we've got a demo lined up in order to show that to you.
Awesome. So jumping into our Gemini Enterprise application here, this is where we're going to show you where you can, like Brian said, go from just a simple prompt into building a fully fledged out agent. It's really easy, if you can write a clear training manual like you already do today for a human, for your coworker, you already have the skills to be able to build out a fully functional agent using Gemini Enterprise. And so that's what I'm going to show you how to do today. So I'm going to start by grabbing a prompt here. And the prompt I'm going to use is here. You're a customer outreach specialist. Before you meet with customers, you need to gather information about their company from the internet and check Salesforce to see if the company or lead already exists in our pipeline using one sub-agent. After gathering information, you have to connect with customers and craft personalized messages that resonate with potential leads using your unique voice to build relationships and drive engagement, utilizing a second sub-agent. In this email, you also need to propose your availability to them by using your Google Calendar. So this is just a simple workflow for someone who is a customer outreach specialist. I'm going to go ahead and send this off to Gemini Enterprise, and I could go ahead and then it's going to go ahead and start building that agent for me. You do have the tools to be able to build it from scratch, piece by piece, if you'd like to, but in this day and age, we want to work smarter, not harder. So that's why we're going to use a prompt and get Gemini to build the grounds of this agent, and then we can just make touches to it as it starts to build the agent. This is how it may look here. You'll have your first agent here. This is the orchestrator. This is just the baseline, so it knows what this entire agent will do. And then you'll have two sub-agents. So you can put all of your tasks into one gigantic agent, but it's better if you break those tasks off into separate sub-agents for it to do one thing and the other to do another, ultimately for you to reach your goal here. So we'll have our information gatherer agent here. You'll see this agent is connected to Salesforce as well as Google Search, because before to get client information, it's going to pull that information out. I also specifically asked in my prompt, right, for it to check Salesforce. So that's our first agent. It has some instructions here. I could edit these if I want to, but it's built all of this just based off of that single prompt, as well as we have our second agent here. This is the actual outreach specialist. So this is what's going to be used to generate the email and also look at calendar availability. So it's, like I said, created these two separate agents to do two separate tasks in order to get to our final result, which is going to be sending that email, right? Is what we want to do. And so you'll have your agent here, you'll have your connectors, you can play around and change these as well. And like I said, any of the instructions. But once our agent is built, there's a few things you can do now. You can schedule this agent if you wanted it to run on a specific schedule. You can also preview this agent to make sure it's working, and you don't need to make any further changes before you actually create it. But once the agent is created, you'll be able to chat with that agent. So let's go ahead and create it here. And we'll chat with agent, and it'll bring us to this chat screen here. You'll see it'll give us some of these prompt chips that we can utilize in order to go ahead and start running this agent here. So if you go ahead and check or do another prompt here, I can enter in a prompt like, check if Patricia Feger at International Shipping Co. is in Salesforce, then draft an outreach email proposing a meeting next week. And you'll see here in Salesforce, I do actually have a Patricia Feger, so it would go out and find that person. You'll see the email here and be able to craft that information for us. This part will take a while just because it's going to do some research. So I'll show you what the end result will look like after it's done researching. After it's done researching here, it would bring us to this action screen where I could actually send that email to Patricia. You see it pulled that information out of Salesforce correctly, and I could go ahead and send that email off. And if I were to send that email off, if I look here in my Gmail, my sent, this is an example of how that email will be formatted. You'll see here it looked on my calendar as well. And so that's how it was able to pull out some suggested times that I could provide to Patricia about my availability, as well as information regarding her company and hours as well. And then, so after the email has been sent, you could also follow this up by sending the calendar invite as well, because that's what this agent does. So to show you what that looks like here, I could say draft the calendar invite for Tuesday, July 21st at 10 a.m. It would bring me that same action screen. And then if I looked at my calendar here, it would populate here as well. So just to show you that you could do that all in a simple setup and from one screen if you'd like to. You can also call out this agent at any point as well. If I start a new chat and I wanted to start chatting, I could just do @ and I could start looking for my agent as well. If I wanted to I could do my customer outreach specialist agent and start chatting with it then. And so that's just one example of how you could go ahead and use an agent to get the information you need. It could be running in the background while you're doing something else, as opposed to you clicking through your various screens to find that information. And now I'll pass it off to Brian to show you another agent as well.
Right. And so we're going to take this one from scratch. We just kind of, if you think of this as a cake show, we just showed you the cake. uh, Now we're going to show you how the layers that we used in order to build that cake, but we're going to use a slightly different recipe just so that you can see the differences. So, so this is the Gemini interface. And ordinarily, if you want to navigate to build your own agent, you would navigate over to the waffles and open this up, and then you click on agents, and up here in this corner, right corner, there's a new agent button. Click on that, and in this particular case, I'm going to grab the line of code that I shouldn't call it code. I should call it natural language natural language, and I'll just drop it in here, and I'll read it to you. Create an agent named the supply chain agent that is an expert at supply chain processes, including planning materials, ordering supplies, and logistics for a marathon or an event. Think like a wedding or a big any type of large event. Include any subtasks and research tasks needed. So with that, I would simply click submit. In any event, what it's doing right now is building that first orchestration layer. And then after that orchestration layer, I think the thing to understand is that that first orchestrator has one perspective. The reason why subagents are so important is because subagents have a unique focus. We'll get into that in a second, but each one of them can only do very specific things. So in this case, what we have now is we've just created an agent from one line of code, and you can like my partner earlier said, you can schedule this to run at a particular time if you like, but right for now, I want to kind of show you the flow. And this is the orchestration manager. And the example that I want to show you is what happens in order to create additional subagents. So if I tell it, for example, if I know, for example, that it would be, better to have a manager and better to have subagents, because I want all to look at things from a 365-degree angle, and I want, 3 or 4 people doing that, I can simply type in this line and say, hey, add the subagents that we might need in order to accomplish this task. And it will look at the task. And in other words, the hard part for many people is knowing exactly how to build the application. What I've just shown you is that in 2 lines, you can build what seems to be a complex application for yourself. And all you have to do is specify the premise at a high level in a well-defined way. And then after it creates that initial agent, you follow behind it and say, hey, create any subagents that you need. And in this case, for our use case, what it created was a logistics manager who helps plan all the storage and the distribution strategies, a material planner that determines the quantities that are required and the materials that are based, and then a supplier manager, which researches all of the people that are required in order to accomplish anything. So with that said, I hit, I could, if I wanted to, do a preview, and this is what the preview looks like. So this is what it would look like if you're, if it was, if it was fully built and it was out there doing what you asked it to do. Since I want to enable that, I want to go ahead and create it. I'll click create, and it'll tell me that it's created successfully. I'll chat with the agent. And now, if I were to navigate, into this, close this, open up the waffle again and go find agents, you'll see the supply chain agent that I created right there. And that's how you would get to it from here on out. Now, if I wanted to build something, and this is the part that I want to show you kind of how powerful this capability is, I might type in, this little prompt here for a 10,000 runner race in Las Vegas in April. So I'm going to go back over to the screen, type it in, and then simply click go. Now, you can guess that the planning for this is kind of steep. So for now, while this runs, we're going to go back to the slides and kind of circle back after we're done with the slides to see what it's come up with, and so you can see just what it did in a very short time period. It might seem like it's completed, but I'm going to have to confirm real quick that I actually do want it to proceed with the sequence. So I'm going to say yes. Now it's going to go out and create a plan for me for a 10,000 person race in Vegas in April. So let's go back to the slides while that runs, and we'll come back later to see what the end results are.
And I think it's just really important to call out with these no-code agents. If you're running them and you hit a snag or you see a failure or anything like that, it's not the same. It's not just a wrong answer, right? Or just a failure. It's maybe just a gap in your instructions. And that's why it's really nice that you can have these human-like conversations with these agents back and forth to get it to where you need it to be. And so every edit you make, those guidelines will just make your agent more resilient and better. So it's just not like a one-stop shop. I just want to call out that it's important to keep reiterating over these agents, even over time, right? This is just today, but maybe in a few weeks, new things come out and you'll have to rebuild, or not rebuild, but play around with your agents in order to get them to do what you want them to do.
So the path that we just went down, this path, I showed you kind of the prototyping step. It's important to understand what she was just saying about the testing continuum. You want to test your accuracy against expected answers. Like, you want to test to make sure it does good answers. Sometimes you can, you want to try to find, in particular, edge cases, things that, where you can see that there might be a gray area and it might not know exactly what to do. When you find those edge cases, you go back into your prompt and you tweak it a little bit in order to adjust it so that those edge cases are black and white, either on or off. And that way you get a repeatable result every time you ask a question. And then each time you make those adjustments, since you're in an enterprise environment, you want to think about the issues that pop up, and you want to make sure you adjust them, before you give more access to other people. The bottom line is you don't really have to be a developer to build a powerful AI agent. And in this example that we're giving you is kind of par for the course. Now, what I showed you in my demo was the initial process of creating the agent, and in that process, we defined the agent's purpose, to build that supply chain. We gave it the context, and in that we gave it relevant data and sources, clear instructions, and as we explained to you before, we kind of prototype, test, and then refine the output. At this point, I'm ready to go back to show you kind of what the end result was of our process. The first thing it did was build an executive summary of all the things that it's working on for us. It's building a list of the capabilities that are required, the materials that are required for the event to be successful. You need water, fluids, nutrition, metals, bibs, timing. It has figured out what the metal supply should be, what the facility should be, and the that I think is really impressive about this is, like I said, I gave it a very simple set of instructions, but because the model is based on such such breadth of experience, giving it just a little bit of information about what you intend to do and your purpose allows it to build out a strategy that would rival that of a professional planner. So that first piece that I was telling you about, hydration and fluids, it breaks down the water, it breaks down the electrolytes, as well as the composite cups. It is still cranking as we speak, building out all four of those areas. You can see the medical supplies as well as the facilities and the training. It's done at this point, and I kind of want to just kind of refresh it. This would be an example of it completing successfully all the things that we were asking it to complete. Bulk pricing, budget estimates, all of the transportation plans, as well as the supply and staging, on-site distribution schedules for everything that we've purchased. I'm halfway down the list and I'm not done yet. So I guess I just want to show you that, from a research perspective, I didn't have to do any research. The model built everything that you see here, and it would behave the same way on almost any topic area. So let us kind of slide
That's
back.
really cool how it, broke down that simple request and kind of did all the mental formatting and math that you would have to do for something like this. Pretty amazing.
I think it is too. I want to flow back to the presentation, so I'm going to go ahead and show you the next piece, which is something that we built specifically for Christine. Christine, do you want to tell them what we built for you and how it works?
Sure. So, I like I mentioned earlier, I do a lot of content for Promevo and for our workspace management tool, gPanel. And part of that, it requires me to stay on top of Google News and what's happening in the tech landscape and things like that. And, I can go and Google all day and pull topics and things that are relevant to us, but it can be very time consuming. And then even harder is then connecting that topic to somebody internally. Obviously, I'm a marketing person. I know, enough to be dangerous, and I do lots of research, but, we have lots of great experts here at Promevo who are subject matter experts in a variety of different topics. So part of the hardest part of then finding the topics that are relevant to us in the content we're producing is then connecting it to an SME internally who has experience in that area and who can put me on the right path, maybe answer some questions that I have, and help me develop that content to make sure it's the level of technical expertise that we need. So I had approached the team. We did an internal hackathon actually about this problem. And they ended up developing this solution that Brian's going to describe.
Right. So from a development perspective, it looks just like the other applications that we showed you. It shows up on the browser as an icon. When you click on that icon, it opens up, and you end up with a browser-like interface. And you can ask a question. In this particular case, we asked it, to give us the latest news updates. Now, it's important to say it actually has context. So it's not in general giving us every single thing that ever happened. What it's doing is it's giving us the things that are specific to our brand and the things that we're interested in as a partner to several technology partners. And so it shows us kind of the things that are relevant in that scope. And when we see an opportunity maybe to present or to write an article, then we would ask it, who's the SME that is talented at doing this? What can we learn from that conversation? And in order to build that out, this is what the orchestrator, that first initial manager, this is what we described to them that we were needing. And so this, kind of comes from Christine in her own words, natural language processing, natural language, I should say. Use we need three things. We need a team to shift through the latest news and in the tech industry, identifying the relevant topics and suggesting ideas. We want a news agent that will provide the latest news. And if the user wants to find an SME, then we need to use the SME finder to identify the SMEs within our environment, and then look on their calendar and see what is available. The current date and time is, and that just to let it know, just so we know that it's actually paying attention. So that would be the screen that pops up when you first enter. What I want to show you is how it works, though, and because this is kind of key. From a delegation perspective, you can see here from the exact moment. If you look over on the left, there's a red box and then a second red box. And what you can see is the exact moment that the orchestrator decides that its first step is not to search the web itself, but to delegate. It passes the control to the news agent. And this is a manager delegating a task to a specialist. So the news agent is going to be the one that actually goes out and has the power to search through news articles and grab information. So on that next.
And I think it's really important to call out that this delegation model is how you can help keep response times fast, as opposed to forcing the agent to, loop over this massive database or anything like that, kind of segmenting those tasks off and parsing through the things that it needs to first.
Right. It's important to understand that although it has the ability to store over 2,000 items at a time in memory, it's still important to keep it from being distracted. And so that's the idea here. So when we move to that next call, what we can see is that the news agent has gone out and we've asked it, to fetch and return news, and we've given it the target date. And I want you to notice that it is restricted from doing anything other than that function. So it cannot go, even though we know the next step is going to be to find somebody to match up to some of the things that we're interested in matching up against. It cannot go out and access directories or calendars because it's restricted from doing that. So that next piece that's important here is that it's working transparently. It's kind of think of it as a flight data recorder, and the orchestrator delegating to the news agent is just our way of making sure that everything is, and tracking it is our way of making sure that everything is actually occurring the way we need it to. In that next instance, we can see the functional response that we get when it actually grabs the information. So what prevents, this is important because of what we're talking about earlier about hallucinations. What it does is it goes and finds, several different articles. In each article that it finds that meets our criteria, what it brings back is the date of the material, the words that match, and then it gives you, that way we know that the information that it's given us is grounded in the reality, the context that we gave it, and then it stores that information, and then it interprets that information and gives you the final result. So then the next thing, and it does this in milliseconds. This next slide, though, I'm showing you is where it goes and kind of tries to go get an answer that it's not supposed to get. In other words, it tries to find out who's available, and because it knows that's one of the things that we need to do. But since it's part of a team and it doesn't have that capability, it is stopped, and and that's when the information transfers back to the manager, and the manager goes off and finds the member of the team that actually is authorized to go and see all of the information related to individuals' privacy, i.e. their schedules, and then come back at an answer with who's available and that fits the need. So that's that piece of it. That's what a pro code agent looks like as compared to a low code agent. There's a lot more complexity that's involved. You can see why we call it pro code. This next piece I just want to go over is called the agent lifecycle. And that's the planning that goes into what we need to do in order to build these so that they're ready for the enterprise. There's really 6 steps here. It's an iterative cycle: planning, building, testing, releasing, operating, and monitoring. It's part of what our next series is going to be about. And Lauryn, did you have anything that you wanted to add before I move forward?
No, I just wanted to reiterate kind of what we've been saying throughout this whole presentation about agents in general. It's just not a one and done project. It's a continuous operation. And it's going to be just like managing a lot of your other operations and your enterprise software applications. It's going to be the same things with your agents, whether you're doing a pro code one for the whole organization or you're doing your own no code agents just for yourself. You're just going to continuously have to make sure they're, up to your standards or your organization's standards. So just something, to keep in mind.
Agreed. Well, that, we've done a lot today. We walked through effectively 3 different demos in a short time period. One, so that you can see it functioning kind of in the world of workspace. The one that Lauryn did showed you the ability to schedule things, the ability to send emails, all of the things that you're kind of accustomed to doing for yourself in an environment, except now you have an agent that will do those things for you if you just ask it to. I showed you the ability to take that agent and empower yourself to have like an entire fleet of people that are experts that surround you and doing whatever it is you need to do. I showed you how with a little bit of effort, you could build a marathon for 10,000 people. And then the other thing we wanted you to see from an enterprise perspective is when you have a very specific task and you want to build it within your environment, you can build a custom agent that works specifically with the resources that you have. In our case, we have databases with numerous professionals in them, schedules to manage, and instead of you spending 15 minutes, kind of back and forth in chat with someone, if you built an agent that had access to everybody's schedules and you told it what you were trying to do, in less than 15 seconds, you'd have an answer, and that person would have something in their inbox inviting them to an event that our marketing team is putting on.
Absolutely. I think that's a great summary, and just wanted to thank you both, Brian and Lauryn, for walking through those awesome examples. Of course, I'm partial to our content intelligence agents, and that's a tool that I use pretty frequently, but love getting to see some of those other use cases there. Also, I know we ran a little bit over, but obviously there's lots of great information, very tactical stuff here. So hopefully you guys will pardon us for that. But if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat now or reach out to us on, you can go to our website, promevo.com, fill out our contact form. We're happy to connect with you, answer any other lingering questions that you might have. If today's session inspired you, if you have an idea for an agent that you want to build, reach out to us. We'd love to help you make that vision a reality. We're a Google Cloud Premier partner with lots of deep expertise in this area, so would love to chat with you about it. So, thanks, Brian. Thanks, Lauryn.